Nostalgia is a feeling everyone experiences no matter what generation they are, and nowadays we find ourselves longing for the past more and more. I don't think anyone even pretends the past wasn't better in every conceivable way compared to today. The present day sucks, and everyone is a lot more vocal about it. As I hear more people reminisce about the decades they grew up in and the experiences that were unique to the Gen Xers and Millennials, I realized that Gen Z doesn't really have anything like that, a culture they can identify with. For Gen Xers, it was the 80s, and Millennials, the 90s and 2000s. Each era having distinct fashion, movies, and music. But once you get into the 2010s and onward, everything is really all the same. I think the reason for this is the rise of the internet and social media, which led to everything becoming homogenized, watered down, and as widespread as possible. Everything new just becomes so saturated so quickly that it dies out in like a month, and everyone moves on to something else and never talks about the old thing ever again. And pop culture is so much bigger and more ingrained in everyone's lives now that it doesn't really belong to any one generation anymore. Sure, some TV shows and movies might still be marketed towards a certain generation. That's usually kids and, adolescents. But there are tons of just like man children who consume that shit too. And the marketers know this. I mean, that's why there's so many reboots of old like 80s movies and nostalgia pandering. And this is pretty much what Zoomer culture is now. Just rapid, shallow consumption of whatever media is trending on Twitter. And everyone else is in on it too, so it's not even like unique to Gen Z. I just really hate the way the internet is nowadays. Everything is so like everything is algorithmically chosen for you. You never really find anything anymore or stumble upon anything. It's just algorithms that decide what you see. And I think people have even made like videos kind of talking about this or something like tangent to this. But they would explain like the search engines for Google and YouTube and how they're just absolute dog shit nowadays, and they won't show you anything past like the first 50 search results. I don't know. Isn't that weird? How just like the most random shit will be propped up by the YouTube algorithm and shown to literally everyone at the same time. I remember like a couple years ago being recommended the whole like I don't care who the IRS sends, I'm not paying taxes clip from Dan Versus, that cartoon from like forever ago. And a couple of days after that, I see multiple people online referencing it. It was kind of creepy and weird. But yeah, I mean, I can't be the only one who's noticed this, right? So yeah, even internet culture is watered down and fabricated by algorithms. You probably won't even see this video unless the YouTube algorithm shows it in your feed. And you can't even escape it. Like, internet culture has pretty much bled into real life. So like the two are inseparable from each other. Like, you'll always hear Zoomers constantly referencing memes in real life. And it just gets so annoying hearing the same shit over and over again. It's like they're fucking carbon copies of each other. I think memes are actually a pretty big part of Gen Z culture. What little they have. And that's because half the shit Zoomers experience is through memes. Like, Zoomers will talk about the Nintendo Wii and how nostalgic it was. but they only pretend to be like nostalgic for the memes. Ask a Zoomer to name 10 Wii games, not including Mario Kart Wii or Wii Sports. They can't do it. I guarantee you they can't do it. They think that just because they saw a meme of an old game or TV show, they were there and actually experienced it. It's so infuriating as someone who's like always been into this shit. Like, it's so obvious they're pretending. And Gen Z is often associated with liking anime, but they only watch popular shit that social media tells them to watch. Like Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man, whatever flavor of the month anime is being shilled right now. Like, if everyone collectively decided that anime was lame again, like how it was seen like 20 years ago, Zoomers would drop the facade and start making fun of weebs just like everyone else. They can't enjoy something unless everyone else enjoys it, and they can get upvotes on social media. That's how you know they don't actually like the thing. And I can prove this too. Just look at the games Zoomers play. They're all multiplayer games like Valorant, Overwatch, and Apex Legends. All competitive games that they get quick dopamine drips from because they look up the meta online and win a couple matches to feel like they're actually good at something. People who actually play games don't care about the social validation or this whole I must follow the meta and play the game in the most optimized way possible to show that I play video games. Like, real people who actually play games, they can play a single player game and just enjoy the fun of the game itself. It doesn't need to be something like popular, something they can get social validation from. Like, it just blows my mind that Generation X was all about being original and not selling out, but their kids hop on every trend so hard just for the easy validation. And as soon as it dies out, they drop it and move on to something else. And I know there were Zoomers out there born in like the mid-90s who weren't completely raised by social media and are actually self-aware and have real personalities and opinions. But I've only met like one or two of these people in real life. I know I sound like one of those, like, I was born in the wrong generation type people, but I swear earlier Zoomers are different from the ones born from like 2000 or 2002 onward. I think it's because earlier Zoomers still remember what it was like before social media changed everything, and the internet was still kind of like not everyone used it compared to nowadays, but nowadays we just kind of, at least for me, I feel disconnected from my peers, like other people like similar to my age, because like I remember how great it was back then. Like, I feel like I wasn't born early enough to truly experience this stuff, like, in its entirety, but I got, like, a small glimpse of what it was like, and it was amazing. And, it really doesn't help that nerd culture became mainstream sometime in like the 2010s, and it was just passed on to Zoomers like last week's leftovers. So I get to see other Zoomers discover things nerds have known about for years, like Metal Gear Rising, which that was a meme 10 years ago when it came out. It's just surreal to see all the things that made us losers getting co-opted by normies. And even if you try to talk with them about like a specific video game or whatever, The other person is not going to know what you're talking about, and they're just going to think you're weird. Unless it's like a popular game they saw their favorite streamer play recently. They'll even look at you weird if you demonstrate like anything past a basic familiarity with a hobby. Like you're not allowed to have a certain opinion or amount of knowledge on something because it's seen as like weird or autistic, I guess. But like, yeah, that's a no-no unless the internet says it's okay or it fits within like a meme or ironic joke or something. It's like they don't understand sincerity and like actually feeling passionate about something. And if you explain why you like something without using like shitty words Zoomers use, like aesthetic, that's just super vague and doesn't mean anything, like they won't understand. Zoomer culture is shaped by the internet that we've become so entrenched in that if something wasn't being talked about and brought to the Zoomers' immediate attention, it might as well have never happened or existed. I think this explains another thing about Zoomers, which is they seem to have trouble comprehending the fact that shit happened before they were born or before they became aware of it. When you live through social media and personalized ads and the algorithm, I guess it's easy to be convinced that everything you see is new, even when you're just rediscovering something old. It's like when you see it once, all of a sudden you're seeing it everywhere else on the internet. So I guess they become convinced that it's new or something other people are discovering at the same time, and just no one has talked about it before. And like I said earlier, sometimes that is the case because of algorithms that randomly show a specific video or meme or whatever to everyone at the same time. But it's crazy. Like we're all trapped in our little bubbles or something. It's gotten to a point where people's entire perception of reality has been warped. And that's why I'm so glad I wasn't raised on the internet and actually observed shit in real life, rather than like everything being filtered to only show me what the algorithm thinks I want to see. I mean, I used the internet as a kid, but back then it was different, I swear. Like it wasn't like all algorithms. The Google search engine wasn't complete shit. You actually like found stuff on the internet. It was like, oh, cool. The internet didn't like usher in content and shove it down your throat. There was like some freedom. But yeah, I think I've said all I wanted to say about Gen Z culture. It's just sad how watered down everything is when it's all online. You don't really have to commit to be a part of a group. Like before, if you wanted to hang out with a certain like group or type of people, you had to go to specific places like card shops or whatever. But now it's all online, so you can just hop on your computer, go to like a subreddit or something. You don't really have to commit as much anymore. There's no group has any barriers. And again, the internet is so homogenized and so like big that there's no privacy either. Like even in groups, like every group knows what's happening in the other group, and there's a lot of like overlap, I guess. It doesn't even feel like you're part of something with a distinct identity. And that's one reason I think, or that's the main reason I think subcultures are dead. just the constant exposure and saturation that the subcultures just can't be sustained. And again, everything moves so fast, so uh trends just come and go. I wish I got to experience mall culture as a teen, or like just got to I wish I just got to hang out around people in real life. I feel like in the past that was a lot easier to just approach people. Nowadays, everyone's looking down at their phones. Uh, it's just a lot harder to approach people, and nobody's really like present. And it feels like there's just no way to like just talk to people and maybe form like casual friendships or relationships. Everyone, like everyone who just goes outside or goes to the store or a restaurant, they just want to go there, do what they came to do, and get out. And I don't know if this is just like my area, but I've noticed that like all the fast food restaurants around me close their lobbies around like 6 or 7 p.m. Like, I usually try to walk to fast food restaurants or take the bus, but the bus stops running around like 8 p.m. 'Cause I don't have a car right now, so that's why. But like all the restaurants will be closed, their lobbies will be closed like around sundown. But the drive-throughs will still be open, which I can't go through because I don't have a car. Uh, but yeah, I think this is definitely, I think COVID definitely had something to do with this, because everywhere is like short-staffed now. But yeah, it feels like ever since the pandemic, everyone, it feels like everything just closes earlier now. Like the whole world just kind of, like it's like everyone just decides to go stay in their house and not go out and do anything past 8 p.m. It's weird. You see like a lot less people out at night, I guess. I don't know, that maybe that's just me.